James Turner for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The untouchable true school sports empire. And y'all know the rest, man. Now listen. I wanted to speak about really Sam Goodman because he fought Nick Ball yesterday. And it was a great fight. I know people, the main discussion is going to be like, you know, who's Nick Ball going to fight next? Will he fight Naoya Inoue in December as it's been reported? Will, you know, he get into unification fight with somebody like an Angelo Leo or Rafael Espinoza? I know he's the main point of the discussion when talking about the aftermath of yesterday's fight. But I really thought the more interesting story before, during, and definitely after the fight is Sam Goodman. Because, you know, Sam Goodman is a fighter who I think his reputation took a big hit 8 months ago when he was getting ready to fight Naoya Inoue. You know, he pulled out of the Inoue fight multiple times. He ruined everybody's Christmas, myself included. You know, I had a ticket to go watch Inoue fight Sam Goodman during Christmas time, and I was very pissed off when he pulled out the fight. So, you know, I was probably a little harsh back then, and I'm not trying to talk bad about nobody, but I was pissed off. And I'm like, yo, this guy should retire from boxing because he can't get through a training camp. And I wanted to see him fight in a way because I think Sam Goodman's a good boxer. I know he's a very good boxer, better than he got credit for. I thought he was actually one of the better fighters at 122 that Inoue could fight. So I was pissed off because I wanted to see Inoue in a good fight, right? And then, you know, then Inoue fought Yi Jun Kim in a mismatch. So it was what it was. But I feel like yesterday in the Nick Ball fight, whether you thought he won or whether you thought he lost to Nick Ball, Sam Goodman definitely redeemed himself. You know, he showed the world he's one of the best fighters in and around 122 and 126. A very sharp boxer, very intelligent, deceptively strong, you know, and has a very high IQ. He fights to his strength as much as possible. I thought personally he won. I scored a 115, 113 for Sam Goodman. I wouldn't have been mad if they would have given it 115, 113 for Ball, or even 116, 112, or even a draw. But to sit here and say that Nick Ball won, like, the scorecards was 118, 110, 117, 111, nah, man, that's disrespectful to Sam Goodman. Sam Goodman went out here, he was boxing his ass off. He was, you know, the jab was very consistent throughout the fight. The left hook to the body couldn't miss if he tried to. He landed a steady diet of straight right hands. I just thought that, you know, Goodman, sometimes he leaves his chin a little bit up in the air, and then Ball did a great job of recognizing when Sam Goodman was taking breaks in the action, and he would get off his volume punches. So, you know, I think he was winning a lot of rounds. Nick Ball, he was getting the edge in a lot of rounds on the judges' scorecards, or, you know, in the court of public opinion, he was getting a lot of the rounds because he was just the more busier guy. I think the judges already I thought the judges already had filled out the scorecards before the fight even started, because there's no way in hell that Sam Goodman lost 118, 110. But regardless, that I hate saying this phrase because I feel like it's a cliche in boxing whenever a fighter loses, and sometimes when promoters or managers or broadcasters say it, it's a horse shit statement. But what I will say is this: Sam Goodman's stock went up a lot in that loss, because now, you know, he could, if he decided to continue to be a featherweight, I think he'd be a great addition to the featherweight division. I think he's you know, he showed he can hang with one of the top featherweights out there, and, you know, I think there's a lot of featherweights in the rankings he could beat. Like if you told me, you know, Sam Goodman versus, let's say, Omar Trinidad, who just fought over the weekend, Sam Goodman will wash Omar Trinidad, and there's a lot of guys like that in the rankings where I feel like Sam Goodman will be a favorite. So yeah, he's a very good fighter. If he goes to 122, you know, back to 122, super bantamweight, eventually those titles are gonna be vacant because Inoue and Nakatani are gonna fight next year. He can still pick up a vacant title and become champion next year. So I think he's in a great position, and I think people need to give him his respect, because a lot of us talks down on him, and I was one of them. And I'll raise two hands and take accountability and say I was one of them. But I didn't talk down on him knowing that he couldn't fight. I know he can fight, which is why I was so frustrated. And he showed it yesterday. I just wish that he would have got more fairness on the scorecards, but, you know, I'm not naive. I know how this boxing game works, unfortunately. Nick Ball is the only British champion left in boxing, so he's got that on his side. and he's being used as a potential opponent for Naoya Inoue in him becoming a 5-division champion and coming to featherweight and, you know, seeing what he could do as a featherweight against Nick Ball, who I've said it for the longest time. You know, he's a good fighter. All these guys at featherweight with belts are champions, but I think Nick Ball is the weakest of the champions. That's why they keep matching him with 122 pounders. But yeah, Sam Goodman, to me, he's the real story of yesterday. Redemption. You know, he didn't get what he wanted. I know he's not gonna want to hear the fact that his stock has went up after a loss, but I feel like he put the world on notice, because a lot of people, you know, they didn't watch Sam Goodman when he fought Rai Salim. They didn't watch Sam Goodman when he fought TJ Doheny. They were supposed their first time that they were supposed to watch Sam Goodman was gonna be the Inoue fight, but he didn't fight Inoue in none of them fights. So therefore, you know, for a lot of people, believe it or not, yesterday was their first impression of Sam Goodman, and he left a great first impression. He showed that, you know, he's not just a boxer. He could, you know, because down the stretch of that fight against Ball, if you go back and you watch it, I would say from like rounds 8 to 12, or maybe even a little, maybe 7 to 12 or 8 to 12, somewhere around there. The guy that was the bigger puncher down the stretch wasn't Nick Ball. It was Sam Goodman. That's why Nick Ball was getting pushed back. That's why Nick Ball had to throw volume punches, because Nick Ball's punches weren't hurting Sam Goodman. So he understood, and credit to Nick Ball, he's smart for this. He knew that his only path to victory was going to be to outwork him, because he wasn't going to maul him. He wasn't going to do what he did to, you know, some of his previous opponents, like TJ Doheny, or the guy he fought before him, whose name I can't remember right now. You know, he knew he had to outwork him, and he did, and that's what it was. But yeah, I want to see Sam Goodman in more big fights. If I could have it my way, if I was the commissioner of boxing, I would like to see Sam Goodman in like next year. Give me Sam Goodman versus Marlon Tapales at 122. I want to see Sam Goodman try to become a champion at 122. He did good against Ball, but I think the featherweight division is too deep for him. I think he should go to 122 and definitely cause some havoc down there, because he's a good featherweight, but he's like a very, very good super bantamweight, very good super bantamweight. So I think he would have a great chance to pick up a world title there in the next 12 to 18 months. But yeah, those are my thoughts, man. Shout out to Sam Goodman, who I think deserves credit from the boxing fans, who dragged his name through the mud after the Inoue fight, and I was one of them. You know, this is a guy in Sam Goodman. He did an interview after his last fight, before this one, and he was very forthcoming, saying that, you know, what happened to him in the aftermath of pulling out those 2 fights. You know, he said he was broke, like he had to go borrow money from people to feed his dogs. So I mean, hey, I don't wish nobody to not be able to feed their dogs. I love dogs, you know, and I don't hate these fighters like that, and I don't hate Sam Goodman. I've always been a fan of his skills, and I've always classed him highly, and I knew he was I picked him to win. He didn't win, but you know, he could have won. You know, some people thought he won, but anyway, nonetheless, what do you guys think? What did you think of Sam Goodman's performance yesterday, and who do you want to see him fight moving forward? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe. You won't be disappointed.